Today's episode is a very special one for me for a multitude of reasons, and I hope that you'll forgive the audio quality that you've maybe grown used to while following the show, but it truly does embrace who we're sitting down with today, and that is the crew from Japan 2.0. As well as my son and some others that will come up in this. We were actually sitting together in Japan. Yes, my friends, for those of you that didn't get those subtle hints on Instagram or may not follow the show on social media, I made it. We made it. My son and I. We were in Japan. We had a blast, and we have so much that was covered. Just this episode in particular was an interview done truly on the first day, full day, we were in Japan, and couldn't have picked a better way to kick things off. We'll also be sharing some other audio of talks that my son and I had at different times, as well as share some audio that I recorded from inside in the Tokyo Dome fan chant section that Sam was adopted into. So we will be kind of splicing some things together, as well as a brief talk with Maurice, who I was able to meet in person. Ken, we did some things together. We were not able to sit down together this time, but had a blast getting to meet you, Ken, again, actually in person, and just so much more. Now, although we talk of lots of recording in this episode that was going to kind of be throughout our whole stay, hope you can forgive me in the fact that my son and I, at one point, just kind of got lost in the fact of we were together sharing something that we'd been looking forward to sharing for quite some time. So we'll have some talks that were in Osaka and Universal, and then we have our thoughts at different times throughout some different things. And I know we'll actually have a sit down together as well, just now that we're back, beyond some things that we sat down to talk about toward the end of the trip and just in the airport and just all together. So thank you just for everything, for more than 2 years, just of time, of a lot of you that were reaching out, saying, hey, I've been listening to you from the start, or pretty darn close to the start, and just am excited for you actually making it. So we'll look to share some photos and other things throughout the next few months of our different talks. So if it isn't exactly our normal format of interview and day trip episode, I hope you can forgive me. But like I said, this is 4 years in coming. So I hope you enjoy the content. Reach out to the show and share if you made it recently or have plans to do so. And just let me know what you are looking forward to the most or what you enjoyed as well. Thank you again. Just truly can't wait to talk about it more. Enjoy today's episode that's filled with a lot of extra noise. Planes, trains, and automobiles, and the company of two wonderful individuals that set aside some time for myself, my son, and my friend. And truly, David and Matt couldn't have been anything more than what I experienced during this time. Thank you both. And I hope for the rest of you, go check them out. They're wonderful. And if you're listening to this show and you enjoy hearing two friends talk about my favorite topic, you'll enjoy them as well. Thank you again.
Welcome to Lost Without Japan, a travel podcast about the life-changing experiences of exploring Japan and those moments we would be lost without. For your listening pleasure, allow me to introduce your very own Kanko Gaido, Michael.
You know about that one?
You told me about it.
I thought it might be
That's why I brought it up. Otherwise,
I thought it might be divisive, so I went with the classics. Have you guys ever had these?
No.
Either?
No.
All right, these are two big classics. So
Well, especially this.
we'll talk about them once we eat them.
Okay.
But
Cool. Let's see. You guys, we've been talking the whole time, anyways. But
Is it recording still?
yeah.
Oh, nice.
So we're good.
You have all that bonus stuff, like the stuff that's gonna get us in trouble.
Patreon.
You're gonna blackmail us with.
yeah.
We're talking about tattoos. That was.
Oh yeah. None of us here have tattoos, yeah.
I don't have a tattoo.
No tattoos.
Go to the onsen.
Oh
baby.
my
That's
God.
right.
We're onsen ready.
This is amazing.
That's the reason
we're
I
the
don't-
onsen team. Yeah.
That's the reason I don't get them. I want a tattoo actually, but I love the onsen. So.
Yeah. I've started kind of considering it, but yeah. I've always said no tattoos because what if I change my mind about it?
Yeah.
And I'd be
There's
really
certain
upset.
things, that you
Never change my mind on. Yeah, probably.
At this point, we can say
The Beastie Boys robot on my back, like the full size,
Intergalactic.
Want to get the Full Metal Alchemist, Alphonse.
Oh, Alphonse is awesome. Yeah, I would like that too.
Crest.
Yeah. His crest, like one of their symbols, alchemy symbols. Yeah, cool.
How about you, Mike? If you had to get a tattoo right now, what would you get?
Probably
Big
get
Chicago Cub.
yeah. Probably get like a whiskey glass from Lost in Translation, or a little Bill Murray, in his suit with that little, head bob holding the, something like that. Or,
Lost in Translation.
Yeah, all Japanese. Everybody's giving us a Japanese answer.
Yeah.
Sadly, guys, I'm the oddball. Big old bulldog.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Why,
That's all right.
Why
Dogs.
Bulldog?
It's Mac.
Mack truck.
Yeah, Mac truck.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Big old bulldog.
Yeah,
Well-
that's a good one.
Hey, before we get going too much, there's a couple different people that are on this right now. Go around, kind of introduce each other. This is Mike from Lost Without Japan. I have my son. Go ahead.
Hello, I'm the son.
Prodigal son.
Mike from Lost Without Japan.
We got Sam, son. Work it. Keep on going around.
Okay, I'm Matt from Japan 2.0. It's a podcast.
And I'm Josh, the fifth wheel person that came along for fun.
What podcast are you affiliated with?
Absolutely none.
Mac. You're going to start your Mac
Mac
podcast soon enough.
The Mac podcast.
Mac Daddy.
But
that's what
let
we
me
call
tell
it.
you, if you were ever coming to Japan and needed someone to guide you around, Josh knows the way to go without using
FJT, just follow the Josh.
GPS or different things. It's he is a golden guide when it comes to it because otherwise I follow anything GPS.
We lived there for 10 years almost, Matt and I, and Josh is teaching us new things and new terms we don't even know about the certain kind of teas and porridges and stuff on the way over here. So, yeah, man, I'm pretty impressed by your level of knowledge and research.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And who are you?
The last of the, how many people got?
Introductions?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know what you call it. Cinco. I don't know. Pin something. David, other half of Japan 2.0. So we got the Lost Without Japan and Japan 2.0 plus the Mac Daddy collab.
Oh, yeah.
Right here that everyone's been waiting for.
Years
in the making.
man.
Yeah.
And son. Don't forget.
And son.
Generations of podcasting. You just need to wait.
I just gotta hit my midlife crisis and then
You'll make it there one day. Take it from us.
You're telling us, Mike, that you're kind of harboring back to how long this has been in the making, us meeting up for the first time. You're saying 2016, 2017 is when you found our podcast,
Yeah,
right?
because 2016 was when I started listening, and it was right before I came back to Japan for 2017, where I did my solo trip. And we have all of our trains and planes and automobiles coming around as well.
If you didn't know already.
Quite literally. Trains, planes, and automobiles.
It's
Yes.
Rush Hour. Gotta love it.
Is that a Chicago movie? Because it feels like a Chicago movie.
It is. It is.
So it's
One of my favorites.
It's perfect.
All about the Bears. How about them Bears?
Pillows. Those aren't pillows.
That's right. Gotta have a good team this year.
Anyhow, this is classic. We got all Mike's amazing microphones.
Mike's.
However, this is classic Japan 2.0 where we're getting
Sidetracked.
while recording spots and background sound. So it is the like collab, combining our powers.
Yeah, it was 2016 when I started listening to you guys because it's like right before you go on a trip, you want to take in all media, everything you can. And one of the things that made you guys stand out was the 2.0 portion of your podcast where it was off the beaten path worth of things that really, drew my attention because I could go a whole trip without like going to a tourist trap, destination and be blissfully happy. And I gotta say, not to jump too far ahead, but what you guys, showed us around today was some deep cuts for Osaka. And it was, if my son was gonna start his first full day in Japan off anyway, I'm like,
Got the full experience, and it wasn't too touristy. Like, we would have never gone to the very place that we did. Like, that was just such a cool experience, and experiencing all the smaller parts of Osaka, and just all been
20-minute walk across the rusty bridge,
Oh, yeah.
filled
Yeah,
with garbage
the
on the
bridge
other
was
side.
my favorite part. Watching out for bikes going by.
Yeah, you got to be careful on that
Yeah.
bridge. I'm telling you.
I'll say even for me, I've never been exactly where we are right now. I've been here 10 years, so Matt showed us a cool spot. We got the sun coming down and like the skyline of Osaka, and there's very few people here.
There's a little bit of rugby practice,
action,
which is going on, which is cool too. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, this is definitely, I wouldn't say it's a hidden secret, but the Yodogawa River is actually it has a nice walkway.
It does.
The one thing that if I was going to criticize is there's not a lot of shade. So we came at the right time of the day. In the middle of the day, it's very hot right here. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So I wanted Mike to share a story to start off with. We like to kind of just dive deep, We did our introductions. Now we're done. Now we're gonna get to the nitty gritty. One thing you gotta know about Mike and his podcast, if the name isn't obvious already for you, is he's a massive Lost in Translation fan. And we heard he had a story to share about the bar that the film. What's the name of the bar?
New York bar.
New York bar in Shinjuku, is it? Or
Right there, and I just want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that if you go to the New York bar, I highly recommend it. But you're going to be spending some money. But the view alone is worth it. Even if you're not a fan of the movie, that view from the bar is just breathtaking. It takes a bit, to actually get there because it's not a direct path. You have to take multiple elevators, get off on different floors, walk to another elevator to get to it.
was there like a guide you found, or did you just kind of figure it out when you're there?
Online guide of like how to get to the bar because if you just
research.
Yes.
Because when you go on your own, you're sitting there like I can't find this place, and no, I was able to get there and
Did you go by yourself?
went by myself, and I've tried so multiple stories with this, but I'll start with the first. I went there, ordered a glass of whiskey and some tacos, and I thought,
Nothing like whiskey and tacos. Classic combo.
I thought, oh man, I'm gonna go and get what I thought was a $20 glass of whiskey and some tacos. So the very nice waitress comes back with my bill, and I'm not even really looking at it because I've already figured out what I've spent, 20 and 20 and some tacos, and I put down like $60, and it's equivalent of $60, and she didn't see me how much I put in. I just closed it, and she came back and she took it. She came back very embarrassed later, and what I mistakenly did was missed some zeros,
Those zeros are important.
and that $20 glass of whiskey was a $200 glass of whiskey.
Holy moly.
Wasn't apparent when you were drinking it that it was it wasn't that good?
Apparently, I don't have the palate for that. So it was a $417 adventure to the New York bar, as opposed to what I thought.
And you were two of them.
Yes, I ordered two, and let me tell you, I would have
sipped a lot more than what I did.
Like, I thought you were such a baller, man, chugging those whiskeys.
Yeah. Look at
Living
this
large.
guy. Yeah. You're like, money means nothing to this
Until you
man.
paid, and then she was like, "Oh no, he doesn't know what's coming his way." Yeah.
And I'm sure she was like, he's not gonna have it.
Here's one on the house, so you don't cry too much.
But the other thing is, I have tried. So we're gonna remedy it on this trip. But I have been there going on like 4 different times.
Okay.
I've never had a photo of myself turn out at this bar. It doesn't matter how many times that I've tried it. Back in 2004 when I did it, I thought it turned out. Get back home, the memory card that it was on. You know, like when you go through TSA and they're like, oh, don't worry about the X-rays like ruining anything. Well, I can tell you, it ruined that, like the whole thing. I lost everything that was on that. Came back again, like by myself, and I asked the nice lady to take a picture of me, and she was like, you know, no, we're not supposed to, or whatever it was, like at the time. And I'm like, please, I just like
at the bar they wouldn't.
Yeah, like she was like, no.
Say I'm the guy who spent $400 on tacos and whiskey. You can take a photo.
That was previous, but it was like it was so busy. I think it was because people were around, you know, like taking other people's things. But she did, and I got it back, and it was so dark that I couldn't lighten it enough, and I couldn't ask again to have it.
Yeah.
And then when we came again on the last trip, it was kind of like that same thing of like trying to really quickly get a picture and sit back down. But I'm like, I don't care this time. It's going to happen. Yeah. We're going to go. Sam and I, we got Josh. We have multiple cameras that are coming this time. It's going to happen.
The 360 cameras coming on this one.
Right.
Yep. The full
VR
experience.
Photo,
You'll have all the scandalous people in the backgrounds, you know, all these rich people on their, you know, with their mistresses and stuff.
Is there actually like live singers there and stuff like in the movie? Or
yes,
is that,
100%.
Oh, yeah.
But
Wow, that's cool.
Like a lot of movies, it's just way smaller than what you think it is.
Okay.
But I kind of sat where Bill Murray sat like enough times to where I know I've sat where he sat. It's just a matter of like which time it was that it was, you know, there. So.
Oh, he's been there, you know.
Yeah.
He's touched that bar, you know.
Never washing my hands again.
When you're there, do you feel other people are there for that same reason? Or you hear like the photos and stuff, or not really?
I think that the people that are there now like are mainly there just because of what it is. But like you get people that are visiting Japan, I think they don't realize how much business they do because of like that movie, you know?
Beforehand though, it was probably a big tourist attraction, right?
I would think just like the view from that is, I mean, it's just...
It's like bar none.
I mean, a lot of these places, like we're looking at the Sky Building right here that's right behind us.
The Sky Building,
and there's a bar up on the top of that and restaurants and things there. And it's really
garden, right?
kind of for like business people, you know, like really wealthy business people. And I imagine in Tokyo you get the wealthiest of the wealthy, you know.
I will say if you go, you have to have pants. You can't go in the shorts, and you can't like. It was the other thing was like
no Speedo and thongs for you.
Oh man, I was gonna try to use the old Speedos and thong trick.
Nobody will say no. They'll be too embarrassed to stop me. But it was like you got to dress up to go, and it was just one of those things. Like I went once where I was like I tried just getting in to get a picture. I'm like, hey, can I just get a picture and leave? And it was like, no, not how you're dressed. And I'm like, dang, you know. So
yeah, wow.
Japan is not like that. We actually always talk about how we love it here. That you can walk into like a Gucci or something, dressed wearing flip flops today and just like casual wear, and they'll treat you like you're God still, you know.
Yeah.
So that's really rare, actually. I'm surprised to hear that. Maybe because it's touristy or whatever.
Why you gotta pay the $400 for whiskey.
It's in Roppongi.
It's in toward Roppongi area.
Okay.
So
yeah, Roppongi's a different beast.
Yeah.
But
so a lot of Westerners there give it certain things bad names and stuff, right?
Yeah. Like a rolling thing of mine is like, don't be the tourist that gives any more bad names. That's the like. Yeah. By listening to Japan 2.0, you can get some nice things that are there, and then like I have my son Sam, who this is I don't know how many years, like it was in the making of like even like meeting with you guys. We were listening before, like I said, 2016 before I came.
I remember listening to you guys in the car numerous times. It's so surreal hearing your voices because I've definitely listened to you guys on numerous occasions.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for everyone.
Believe me, his dad needs to apologize for a lot of things. But not listening to you guys is one of them.
Oh, yeah. Probably at the moment I'm like, damn, I just want to listen to music.
And then the music episodes show up.
Yeah,
and you're
right.
taken care of, right?
It's a weird concept because when you podcast, you're not really thinking about who's on the other end. Maybe some people do. We don't, you know. I don't think about a teen sitting in the car, you know, with his dad, forcing this on them or impacting people in that kind of way or having any kind of influence on anyone. So it's kind of crazy when you do meet people, you know, and hear those stories that, I don't want to think about it too much because it would change what you say, you know.
Yeah.
But it's cool. It's cool.
Well, I'm always interested to hear from like listeners and stuff and see what kind of their life is like. And actually, I think you came on our episode, our anniversary episode, where we were asked people to send audio to us to tell their stories about Japan. And I mean, that was a really fascinating episode.
If you don't remember, it was Mike's Hiroshima hot dog story. And at that moment, you really came on our radar, you know, as like a big listener, like someone we kind of paid attention to.
Yeah.
And
we were happy to hear that, you know, you added a podcast shortly after, you know. I mean, that's super cool that,
sure.
you know, like there's this community of people that are really interested in sharing these stories about their travels. And I mean, I always find that super cool podcasts when I go to Vietnam. I found a really good one when I went over there. We've done the same thing for Korea, and I mean, we kind of started the podcast when we in Korea when there weren't many podcasts around, enough podcasts for us, you know.
I still want like I need to get the audio file from you guys from some of your early stuff. I know like it's one of those things. It's like listening even back to like my stuff from 2 years ago, where it's like even more different. But I'm like, I'd love to hear you guys because like I don't listen to you like just because of like the 2.0 content. It's more like your friendship of you two is like honestly like what like keeps me listening, man. Like 100%. It's just you guys could sit there talking about anything, and I'd be I'd be down to listen, man. It's really what it's about.
I think you find there's very little change. As I was saying before. I would like to say we've grown, and it's embarrassing to go back and listen. I don't find it. I'm like, it's like listen to one from now. We tried more creative stuff in a couple episodes. I remember a cat cafe episode we did, and we like had like cat sounds in the background, like
that was the Korean
that's
podcast.
What he's saying. He says he wants to go back and hear that.
Have you heard those?
No.
Oh, okay.
We have a drive at this point. It's the only place that exists. We'll share the drive with you. But we've had people write us, and I'll share with anyone who wants it.
Yeah.
But,
if you want to hear about the Korean days.
Strange enough to want to hear about Korea.
Korea's changed so much, though.
2007. But there's nothing the same anymore.
Yeah.
But I think like that's half the fun of doing like the podcast in general, and especially this episode, because it's like it's gonna have my son, it's gonna have a buddy that I hang out with like all the time, like kind of like
Worlds
with you guys.
collide, right?
Yeah, and it's like, and it could be 10 years from now, he could be 31, with a kid of his own, and be listening back to his dad's trip of like hey, this is when my dad and I and his buddy and like I met up with some guys, podcasting, in the middle of a park. Like, I mean, that's like it's like a time capsule of like time that you had.
It is, and I like one of the hardest times of my life was when I left Korea. I had to go back to the States. I didn't want to at the time, and I was really missing hanging out with Matt. And I used to just go back and listen. We don't really listen back to our old episodes that much, right?
I don't very often. I occasionally will listen to them when they come out,
Yeah, just to make sure.
I don't even always do that. Yeah. It's like listening to yourself. It's kind of
narcissistic or something.
Yeah.
But when I was back living in the U.S., I missed hanging out with Matt so much, and I would just go listen to those episodes. And it was like very, it got me through like a hard time, And you never know when those times are going to come in your life again, when what you're doing is something that you're proud of, or you might miss that time. So there are time capsules, and that's a really good way to put it.
Even though I don't listen back to them right now, I mean, I'm happy they're there because, I do want to look back on this era of my life. It's such an important thing. This is like a dream come true to live in Japan. So, I don't want to take that for granted.
I think it's interesting that we're kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum in that way, that you guys are these people living abroad, right, who are like so interested in Japan and wanting to be here in certain ways. And we were that, and our podcast was kind of created for people like you guys. We've maybe gotten away from it at some point, but when we first started, some of the earlier episodes were me just walking around recording trains or just like saying what we saw. It was before YouTube really took off, right? Yeah. I think YouTube kind of replaced all that, and I was like, well, I can't do audio anymore. People are just going to watch YouTube walking around and stuff, you know?
Right.
But yeah, I think we really remember that feeling so much of, I was in a position where I would do anything to be here, but I couldn't. I didn't have the money, or my life just wasn't ready for that yet, you know? And yeah, I don't know, like it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
One of the things I really want to ask you, Mike, is lost without. That's such a key component of your podcast. And you talk a lot about like lost without moments. And from my listening to your show, that's kind of like the thesis or the backbone of your show, you know? And I want you to kind of like really define what that means to you, and like, have you had any lost without moments in your first 24 hours here, or like, what are some memorable ones that you've had before?
I'd say like just this moment. I mean, right now. You know what I mean? Like the time that we have, like this is something that wouldn't have happened without the podcast. Like if you guys hadn't have sat down like and recorded what you recorded, like we would have never met. You know what I mean? Like, and think about that. Like the day that we shared today, that's just like, you know, get goosebumps. Like literally, like, you know, some goosebumps. You know, just thinking about like, hey man, like halfway around the world, meet up, you know, with you guys and like share this moment. And then to have like my son, man, like he was 4 when I came back from Japan with Fulbright, and I remember telling him, I'm like, hey, when you get older, I said, we're going to Japan. And leading up to us actually getting here, it was so surreal, like it didn't seem real, you know what I mean? Like, and even when we were coming here,
the first time I walked down the street, I literally like started tearing up, because my entire life I feel like has led up to me being here. And there's been so much anticipation, and so much has led up to this point. And Japan has been such a big part of my life. And it's just so cool to be here and be in the moment. And just even in the first 24 hours, so much has happened that it would take more than 24 hours to talk about it all.
Yeah. I mean, just getting here is overwhelming, right? Like, I mean, you get off of the train and you know, from the airport, and you're just like, I want to see that and that and that and that, and then you could just keep going on and on, because it's so bright, they're so colorful, you know, the city's so bright, vibrant, you know, there's so much going on. And some might argue too much, especially if you get a hotel room next to a karaoke place, right?
Yeah, definitely got some culture shock coming here, that's for sure.
If you are listening and you would like to know a place to where you can hear people singing anime openings till 5 o'clock in the morning,
pay money,
and we will share that information with you. It's going to be a hidden secret unless that Patreon money comes, you know, rolling in. But
there's definitely somebody that's going to want that.
The ASMR.
Yes.
we gotta record tonight.
Oh, we are recording. All right, we're gonna record the audio, and we'll whatever we have. If they're as good as they were last night, we'll put that at the end of this episode. Just like
awesome. Splice in at some awkward moments.
Last night, were they?
What were some of the highlights that you heard last night? Any recognizable songs?
Naruto opening. I heard a Naruto opening. That's one I heard.
Was it good?
Yeah, I feel like this one guy just sang for like 3 hours straight, and he was belting.
Yeah.
I was impressed. Like, I got there, I wasn't even annoyed.
Okay, it's no joke.
You gotta respect it.
Yeah, I was tired, so I couldn't be annoyed, and I was just like, you know what, this is just a culmination. Like, you know, it's.
You guys had some Wonderwall and Alanis Morissette as well.
Wonderwall,
some 90s classics.
Morissette. It was some good stuff, and then.
I was blissfully asleep the entire time.
Those noise-canceling headphones came in handy, huh?
Nope.
Sam and I, we rolled up like the lady. We should have known something was up when like Josh earlier had noticed. He said, because we read this like Airbnb profile, and this lady had this like laundry list of things of like, don't be loud after 8 o'clock. The people in the area will call the police if you are loud after 8 o'clock. So please be quiet after 8 o'clock. And I'm like, that's a bunch of baloney, because
It makes you wonder how loud was the person to have her write that on there, right?
How rowdy?
This is the bar.
I go, like, how did you beat like the echoes that were filling our things? And it was crazy. And like, but I think like even to like, I think to go back to like that your question where you said like those other like lost without moments, but like my trip back in 2004, or like my different times I have, like every time I come, there's something that like you add on, like, like all this different things is here that I keep on finding more to do. And like the 4 years of time this spanned where like Josh and I, like we would have been here like at least twice, like, in between. And to have that not be a part of your life, like when you don't have something to look for, like not, but when you don't have that like thing to look forward to, like it gets hard, like, to where you're just like, hey, this last year, like when we were like, this is really gonna happen, it's open, like, we're gonna go, like that made, a huge difference in your life, like attitude wise.
And then finding all the YouTubers that have taken to the waves pretty much of, walking around with their video camera, showing all of Japan, and you're like, I miss it. I want to go back. I miss it. I want to go back.
I feel like I've been in such a funk the past like 4 months. My job has finally gotten to the point where I'm like drained every day coming home from work. But like the one thing that's gotten me through the past couple months is just watching like videos about traveling in Japan, and just anything that reminds me that I'm going to be there in however many months, and I'm here.
I think it's something Matt and I can really relate to, right? And it's interesting to hear that, 20 years later or something, but I definitely can firmly remember a time in my life where I was going through art school and hated it, and I was the worst artist, and everyone was making fun of me, and I was just like, I just needed to graduate so I can become a jet, and do ESL teaching one day. It didn't end up happening, but it was like what got me through. I'm hearing from you that sounds like that's going to kind of put a definition on it. Those lost without moments are like something about Japan that's getting you through the daily grind, and that it motivates you to keep going and push harder. And would you say that's kind of it?
100%. And then like even past students that I've had, like they'll mention that, like they're like, I remember, like being in your class and like that. But then you hear from them like that rubbed off on them. And then they have an interest in something that if they hadn't have had you, may not have happened, like still could have. Like there's so many different things now that are out, but it was like that, like to be able to influence somebody, with your passion, like to have something with that, it's huge,
I'll tell you about this guy, Brian. I haven't talked about him hardly ever, like in my life, but he worked at Home Depot with me, and he would only talk about England. He'd be like, London's so great, England's so great, you could do all this stuff. This is where like Shakespeare, was, and I go every year. And I told him, I've always wanted to go to Japan. And he's like, well, just go, man. Why don't you just go? And I was like, well, I don't know how to, do it and stuff. I'm from like a small town, None of my family ever traveled internationally or anything like that. I didn't have a lot of people to ask. And but his passion was infectious. I'll never forget the guy and his ponytail. And
it's not the Brian I know then.
No, it's a different Brian. That Brian's cool too. Yeah. But I was always like inspired by his passion for like travel, and he made it seem so easy. And I said, well, maybe one day I will get the chance. And look at me now,
Yeah. Living the dream.
I'm living the dream.
I think this trip, you've been to Japan a lot, right?
Yeah.
Josh has been to Japan a lot as well.
Yeah, this is my
but it's Sam's, first trip. So I think that's kind of the special thing that we're going to focus on to some degree. At least now I want to talk about. And like, at what point did you actually fall in love with Japan? Because I'm guessing, I have to imagine, it was your dad's thing. It maybe pushed on you. You're like, this is my weird dad, eccentric dad.
Yeah, I didn't.
Sorry, but at what point?
It's true.
At what point did it actually be like, oh, my dad's actually kind of cool, or he had a good point? Or
I didn't really have a choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just growing up surrounded by like my dad showing me Last Exile. I remember watching Pokemon, playing Pokemon. Surrounded by Japanese media. Going to Mitsuo was a very, very big. The Japanese market near where we live was very, very important. And I go there.
What specifically about that market did you like?
Just like I always loved going there. There was a bakery that I always loved going to, and I think that was a pretty big factor in.
Get melon pan? Is that what you liked?
Bonbon, man.
Oh, yeah.
Red bean.
Yeah, no, I know.
Yeah.
That's classic.
Yeah.
You liked it because so many foreigners hate it.
Yeah.
We told him when he was younger, like not to embarrass him, but we told him like when he was little, we're like, this is chocolate.
Oh.
You know, like
classic dad moment.
And he ate it. He's like, oh, this is good, and he would eat it.
You like it?
No. No.
Why'd you? If you don't like it, why'd you give it to your kid?
I was like, because he liked how it looked, and we're just like, okay, cool. It's it's something. It's a sweet, but it's not like chocolate. We tried it with Addison.
Yeah.
My daughter, like thinking. She took one bite of that and she spit it out. She's like, "This is not chocolate."
But they fooled you.
Yeah.
You said it was ampaman on the outside.
Ampaman,
Yeah. So I mean, ampaman will fool anybody.
Yeah.
That big nose.
Having those are early experiences in my childhood, and then having a lot of friends, just like anime. I started watching with my dad, and I really started to latch onto it, and just
So you never fought against it, or like thought this is like no?
I was always in love with it. I'm in love with everything, the culture, the architecture, like the whole like Ghibli was a big thing. Obviously, like any foreigner, when they talk about Japan, Ghibli's gonna come up eventually. But watching those movies as a kid and watching anime as I grow up, and now
we do like they'd have at the Mitsuya, they'd have like dance festivals, and they'd have like food stalls and like all these different things.
Real central hub of culture.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then they have a Japanese bookstore that we hit up just on the regular, like
Kiyokuniya.
Yeah. And it's just like, and it's amazing that we have that like available.
I was telling Josh off mic before that. Yeah. I'm from the Midwest too, Michigan, and you guys are making liars out of me because I've always told that for the 15 years of the podcast, and I was like, yeah, man, you're so lucky you're from California and Midwest. We got no Japanese culture anywhere. We got sushi.
You didn't have Google Maps back then, so maybe that contributed,
Yeah. Well, I'm talking, it's maybe a time difference too. I left at like 2006. I don't know. Think that stuff was there back then?
It was.
Yeah.
It was when I was, even in high school, like when I moved here, I'd get my bootlegged DVDs from there, like even back in the day. It was the almost we had always like the running joke in our family was like that's an almost legit copy that we bought.
Well, when there isn't a legal way to get it, that's how we had to. Kids, there was before the internet, we had to do some dubious things to get that anime.
I don't remember. It's legit enough because you paid someone for it.
But it is like we'd go there to this, and like for some of the stuff, like even now, like you can't get some movies that are here, on a home or without like spending an outrageous amount or having to have a DVD player. As funny as that sounds, like that has like a region
unlocked,
that you can have
the region free,
to stream. So it's like you still have some stuff that
I'm like eternally grateful to my dad for giving me this experience so early on into my life too, that I knew going into this was going to have a huge impact on what I want to do. Like I felt directionless a lot, but I knew, and I know now after being here, like this is going to have a very big impact on what I end up doing, and just reinforcing my love for the country and everything about it. And I'm grateful that I got the chance to do it at 21 rather than,
it was one thing, like, I've told him, and I've had that conversation, like, I had a hard time doing anything for myself. Like, growing up, like, it's easy to do for others, but, like, doing something for yourself and spending money on yourself at times, like, has been, like, a struggle. Especially, as you have young kids, like, you don't know how important it is to actually still do things for yourself, even if it's, not as often or things like to do that. But, like, my biggest thing to him was, like, I don't want you to be 37 years old to realize that it's important to do something for yourself and finally start, doing those things for yourself. So, like, like him, like he's done a lot. Like I told him, I said, like, I paid for our airfare to get here, and Josh helped pay for like our time in Tokyo, like, helping make some stuff popular. He, got our time up in Kobe, like, and I took the other part, and then like Sam though, like he's gotten a lot out of this. Like he set aside a good chunk of money for this trip. It, like, as a kid, like, he's not even a kid. Like, it's hard. Like,
He's a young adult.
He's a young
He's
man.
a young adult.
Yes.
Like young adult, young man. Like to set aside the money he did to get here is like such a huge life skill because like a lot of people you run into, like even your situation where it's like you're in a small town and you're like, I don't know if I'm going to make it to Japan or not. Like there are things you can do, and having that like accomplishment when you're young to have set aside that money, that's something you can do again when you've done it once, and that means you can do this, or you can do England, you could do a different place. This is now like something you're set up to accomplish again later on in life.
It opens up the world to you, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, and you save your money, or hopefully you save some money, I mean, in some people's situations, they're not able to, but if you have the capability to do it, I can't think of anything better to spend your money on than travel. And if you're listening to this podcast, you probably already feel that way, right?
Yeah.
But I do think it's so important because seeing the world from a different perspective makes a big difference. It's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day, everything's the same,
The thing I was most excited for with this trip, I mean, there's a lot of things. I don't want to say it's the thing I was most excited for, but like everything I'm doing is a new experience, and that's my favorite thing. Like anything new, anything like my favorite times hanging out with friends are the times we just do something that we'd never do other than like this one time.
Every single day, pretty much, I look at him as we're walking around and go, goals.
I think a lot of people know travel is very inspirational and all that, but I think one of the things I don't hear talked about as much is when you go home, the first, second, third day, that feeling you get is a real kind of barometer for what you're doing in your life, or what your life is back home, and how it makes you feel to come back from somewhere. And Matt and I used to always talk about, before we lived here, we lived in Korea, and we'd go to a lot of other places, and we were always happy to come back to Korea, go back to the States, we're always happy to come back to Korea. But there's always one place we'd go to, and we weren't so happy to come back to Korea. Be a little bummed out. We were happy to see our significant others, or whatever it was, right? Of course, our friends. But it was always Japan, And for us, that always kind of told us that, like, we got to get there, that we'd go there and just be bummed out. I remember I'd go to my favorite restaurant, do my favorite thing there, and it just wasn't good anymore, And that was what told me, like, I got to just pull out all the stops, and no matter what it takes, get out to Japan. So for me, even still living here 10 years in, you start to think the world's a big place. Maybe there's other places. We were talking off mic before that it's the small, cheesy, stereotypical things about Japan that living here, when we go other places and we come back here, that you do miss, or you do realize that you are in the right place. It can just be a convenience store, a vending machine, or as silly as that is, some of the conveniences, it's such a convenient place to be.
Yeah, just getting on the train and going across like a city, is like, that's a luxury that not every city has, right?
But yeah, so anyway, with travel, I think when you go home, Sam, the thing I would tell you is that how you feel those first couple of days, really like focus and just be mindful and be in the moment of that, because it's a very valuable, powerful thing to kind of give you guidance in your life. And sometimes it can be a hard reality to face. You might realize that what you're doing, you need to change, but you can use that as such motivation to get you through hard times, And it might take a while. I know for me, it took me forever to get out here, and I was not happy for many years until I got out here. But it will motivate you to not give up, and to fight through and to do whatever it is.
But like even like Josh, like and myself, like that's one of our things. Like you have those things, like you guys, like your friendship and things you have because of that is like rooted in that, and like having a friend that you can travel with like is huge. You know what I mean? Like, because it's like, as much fun as it is to go, like when I came in 2017 and I came by myself, yeah, I had a good time. But to be able to share that with somebody else is like a totally different thing. Like a totally different thing. And like, but what's crazy though is like you find, like I moved so much as a kid. Like I moved every year. Like we were in a new spot pretty much like all growing up. And I don't have a spot in the United States that I feel is home. Even like that I've lived where I've lived now in like Chicago is like, for as long as I have, I just moved so much. It still doesn't even feel like, yeah, it's my home that I go back to, but it's not like a place that I feel. But every time I come back here, like I get that sense of like feeling at home. And for me, like Hiroshima is that like city for me that's like the most, feels like that, like, experiencing things. And that's why I want to see even more. And when Josh and I were talking about, like, next time we come, we want to hit some places that we haven't taken other people to. Because, like, what other place you go to might end up being that, spot for you, or that, place that you have. And, like, I honestly, though, for Josh, like, like your backstory when it comes to Japan, like, for you.
So, for my backstory, it's actually kind of a cool story. So we're friends with a gentleman named Rob. So I used to work with Rob, and one day he decided to get a phone call from his roommate, Ali, and they were talking about something, and he said, "We're going to Japan." And I looked at him and just said, "Oh, that's kind of cool. I'd be really like to go too." 2 seconds later, he's contacted Ali and said, "Can I bring this other person with?" And Ali just said, "Sure, no problem." So I got to go on my first, well, not my first actual trip out of the States, but something this far away from Chicago on a whim.
What year was this around?
2016.
What would you know about Japan at that time?
At that time,
Were
it
you
was
into
just
anything, or?
straight anime, pretty much. And the minute we touched down, it was hectic. Here, going from Narita to Tokyo Station, grabbing the bullet train to go down to Osaka.
We're all shaking our heads. Yeah, we all know that
Realizing that afterwards, our friend Ali was a very sadistic and mean person, but I will admit, it was a great 24 hours that we had to deal with. And all of that going through here was amazing. And
made you a lifetime
fan.
Oh yeah. As soon as we were on the bullet train going south toward Osaka, seeing Fuji that everybody talks about, because I was lucky enough, or smart enough, well, probably lucky enough, that I got the window seat looking toward Fuji, and I got to see Fuji, and the other two did not. Made me feel I got the special moment. I got my special moment.
That's right. Did you do a lot of research before that trip, or did you just kind of like walk into it?
I walked into it, and then afterwards, during that planning trip, I find out that our home city is the actual sister city for Osaka.
No way.
Okay.
So there's parts of Osaka Station, if you go to, they have Chicago galleries. So everything is about Chicago right in that area.
I didn't know about that. Yeah, that
that's
sounds
pretty
cool.
fair. Osaka and Chicago do have a similar
Yeah,
vibe.
they're very, very similar.
They are windy cities.
Windy City, very.
Hopefully you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know that.
The microphones might be helping things. We're not sure. We make no guarantees.
There's trains, let me tell you.
No
there's
money
trains.
back guarantee on our podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first story of coming here, and it was a great first story.
That's awesome. Wow, someone's getting rowdy.
There's a rooftop
Chicago style over there.
Yeah, that's right. Talking to Chicago.
It's definitely Chicago style.
Very
That's
cool.
tame.
All right. Well, I brought some snacks. Something Matt and I like to do sometimes is just have like live tastings, of things and just describe them. So we're gonna do that with kind of two convenience store classic sweet chocolate items. We'll go with the oldest first, which is called Black Thunder. This is a variety of Black Thunder. It's a small, I thought it was easier to share, so like bite-sized versions. Usually Black Thunder comes in like a bar. I would call it the Snickers bar of Japan, but it has I think a deeper history of that. I think it's like 60, 70, maybe more than that old. It's super old, one of the most classic candies in Japan. When you tell people you like it, as a foreigner, they laugh really hard, because it's...
Anybody want it?
It's like an old snack. So we're gonna go around and try a little Black Thunder. It's probably my number one. You get some seasonal things that can beat it sometimes.
Well, I'll tell you a seasonal one that can beat
But
it. If you get the
classics-
Black Thunder ice cream, if you come at the right time of the year,
It's
that
there.
one pops
It's
up.
here now.
Yeah.
So if you guys like this now, go get the ice cream because you can get it.
Highly recommend
We're
it.
gonna go around, pass the Dutchie.
On the left-hand
Oh,
side.
there's mine. All right, here you go, Mike.
Oh, outstanding.
And he goes to the right.
Just a lap.
My right.
No, we're passing.
You guys don't know where I'm
Pass it usually
sitting.
on the left-hand side. You have to throw the song in here. We'll see which one was right, left or right.
So Matt and I aren't going to describe it because we've had it a million times, but I want you guys to, what does it remind you of? What's it taste like?
If you say either black or thunder, you would be accurate.
Kind of getting some Twix vibes.
Yes.
Very much.
All right. This is the correct answer. What else? Keep going.
I'm gonna say like a bit of a hint of Cocoa Puff.
Yep. there's-
That's a good description.
So,
actually, yeah.
As you're
I totally
thinking of the
see
next
that.
stuff, Japan loves to, on sweets, particularly ice cream here, like sundaes, they love to throw in like corn flaky cocoa stuff. Just
Rice
you'll
puff,
You'll see cereal
corn
on top
puff.
of like your ice cream sometimes. You're like,
Chocolate Rice Krispies.
there you go. Yep.
Chocolate Rice Krispies.
So we got Twix meets chocolate Rice Krispie. Anything else? Just chocolate bar.
Yeah. Like a chocolate Rice Krispie, but the ones that are like in the chocolate.
Coated in chocolate.
Yeah, the coated chocolate.
Yeah. That coat has like a very distinct coat to it, right?
That- The crunchiness from it. If you've ever had a Hershey's cookies and cream chocolate bar, and you get the speckles of the cookie inside it,
Okay.
that's what it tasted like to me.
That's what I'm looking for. That takes a culinary degree right there to get to that one. No, yeah, that's a great point. And I'm now remembering that. It's been a long time since we've had that.
Yeah.
That is really good. You nailed it. Yeah. All right, so that's Black Thunder. They make it in many varieties. Getting as your homework is go get the ice cream version at any convenience store. It looks just like this on the outside. This top
That's
part.
easy homework, right?
Okay, fine. Put on an ice cream bar.
All right.
You're gonna have to work off that homework. Walking.
Next up, we have Galbo. I never heard of Galbo. Have you guys ever heard of Galbo?
No.
All right. So before I lived here, I never heard of this one.
Galbo's a classic.
And I don't know how we came upon it. You know, I think in our first couple of months, we were just going to the convenience store and just every day getting something new, you know, and just loving life. And I love chocolate. I particularly like dark chocolate. And we saw this weird one called Galbo. I don't know, the bag is like these long, oblong chocolate things. They didn't look like anything special. But my family and everyone I know loves Galbo. It's an interesting texture. Nothing shocking, nothing too crazy or weird, but there's nothing else quite like it
except
back
for
home.
the salmon flavor, right, David?
Well, they do weird variety, but we're eating the classic OG version right now.
Choco.
I don't think Galbo is the salmon flavor. I'm just making things
That
up.
is really unique.
That's not crazy. There's nothing that's gonna like, wow, but this is good.
Sometimes the shape of things makes the difference.
Yeah, this is long. It's like 2 inches. Well,
I was thinking of The Office. That was
no, that's what she said on this one.
He forgot the imperial system because it's definitely not 2 inches.
An inch and a half.
be
I've been in
3
I've been in a centimeter zone. I don't know. It's a weird shape. Anyway, how'd you describe this chocolate treat?
And like a Pocky, but I don't know, more.
Without the stick.
Yeah, without the stick.
Maybe Josh is the second one to reevaluate. I think something, as you guys are thinking, that Japan does really well is like cheap chocolate that doesn't taste cheap. So these are both like 150 yen, I think.
and you would, no way like on that you'd say that it's 150.
Compared to like a Hershey's bar, I think that's what, I don't know if this changed in the States in 10 years, but that's what I remember in that same kind of category.
It's a mixture of the taste of a Rolo.
Oh, yes.
Rolo.
Deep cut.
Dang.
It has the taste of a Rolo.
Deep cut, yeah. Jinx.
Shout out to Rolos, because Rolos are one of the most, the greatest chocolates no one talks about.
And it has the texture of, if you've ever had a castanella or a pound cake, and it's the crust down at the bottom, it's always slightly crispy. That's what it tastes like to me.
Amen. I can't beat that.
Yeah, no. That's why we save you for last.
Oh, yeah. That's why. I mean, I think we found your podcast reasoning right here. It's food reviews.
But it does taste like a Rolo. You get the hint of a Rolo.
It's shocking because there's no caramel or anything in it, right? Because Rolo is all about the caramel.
Yeah, it's all about caramel.
But somehow I agree.
because it rolls in just like a second or two after you finish your bite, and it's on your tongue just sitting there for a second. It rolls through as a Rolo.
Speaking about rolling in on the aftertaste, Josh has brought a unique gift for my buddy in Hiroshima, a Chicago liqueur.
Oh yes.
That if you're
I should have you guys try it
stateside,
too.
Oh boy.
it's Malort is the name of it.
Malort.
I live close to Chicago, but I've never heard of that.
Oh my gosh! If you
Jepson's Malort.
Google Malort face, you'll see some hilarious
Is it
videos.
the face people make after drinking it?
100%, and
So
it starts off to where it's not great, but then it just consistently gets worse.
Malort is a wormwood infused liqueur.
Wormwood.
So like
Like the actual insect.
absinthe kind of thing.
Yeah, like absinthe. The thing is, it's a Swedish conception of a Malort liquor. Some people like it, some people don't. I'm in between-ish, leaning toward not. To me, it smells like grapefruit pith, and then when you taste it, it's grapefruit pith and the water from a tire fire.
And for me,
That sounds delicious.
It's like a hint of Windex. I've never tasted Windex, but if I had to taste what Windex tastes like, it's that. And the thing is, it doesn't matter what you drink or eat after, it won't go away.
Because
So
it's
like you
very-
can
lingers.
take
oily-
milk, you can drink a
very
Coke,
oily.
and as soon as the Coke taste is gone, right back with you is that Malort. It's just
Does it make you hallucinate?
no. It just makes you wish that you had not. had
It makes you wish you were hallucinating.
All right. So before we move on, are you Team Black Thunder or Team Galbo? Let's go around.
I'm
Mike.
gonna say Black Thunder for me.
Okay.
I like that crunchiness that you get with it. That's gonna be mine.
It's more complex for sure.
I think I could eat more of the second one we had.
Galbo.
But
Galbo.
I think Black Thunder I like more.
Oh, really? It's a complicated answer there. So your final vote goes Black Thunder?
Yeah.
All right. 2-0 Black Thunder.
I mean, for me, it's no question. Black Thunder all the way, baby.
Well, it's decided, but we gotta keep going just to find out. Josh.
Well, I guess I'm the odd man ball. I actually enjoyed Galbo more.
Hey.
Okay.
It doesn't matter anymore.
It's a
but
respectable answer.
I also like Galbo. I think it's more simple, but more sophisticated.
True.
So, again, it tastes more gourmet.
I'd
imagine it's like a 500 yen treat, not a 150 personally.
It's
3 against 2.
Yeah.
We're gonna get you.
It's that reminding of a Rolo
Yeah,
to me.
that's right. Found the Japanese Rolo.
More of a neutral party, so we can split it.
Ah, boo! Sam! I thought you had our
No Switzerland's allowed here.
It's like, how do you edit? Google's how to edit somebody's voice out of the podcast.
We want the robot Sam voice saying Black Thunder all the way.
All right, so not many people talk about Osaka being a beautiful city. It's often known to be one of the ugliest cities of Japan, or like the dirtiest, dangerous cities. But I tell you what, right now, in this post-sunset glow, looking at the skyline, it's looking pretty good. Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
I've been completely distracted the last couple.
It's pretty cool, man. The train's going by, and even you're talking about the lost without moments. My family calls them I'm in Japan moments, because working at like international school, we kind of live in this bubble. It's English all day. It does not feel like I live in Japan for the majority of my life. And as someone who came here to want to live in Japan, that's kind of sad. Or even having like a Japanese podcast, I sometimes feel a little bit inauthentic because I don't live a very Japanese lifestyle. And you still have these moments, and they're fewer and far in between the more you live somewhere. But I'll say even this one's doing it for me. I didn't realize because my back's facing the skyline. But as I turned around about 10 minutes ago or so, I was like, oh man, it's pretty good.
I know this is gonna sound super cheesy, but I think in current with my present company, you'll appreciate it. Have you guys played any of the Sonic the Hedgehog games on Sega Genesis? And
You better believe
then the scrolling going by of the cities in the background. Whenever I see this, that's kind of what I think about.
Know where it came from.
What do you call that scrolling where it's like on the different planes?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's gonna come to me, and I'm gonna be really regret not being able to think of it.
I'm gonna go back to you, Sam, and like in your first day here, is it what you imagine? What's similar? What's something you didn't expect? Or
a lot of it is like it's weirdly exactly how I expected it to be. There's a lot of stuff like obviously I didn't, but I've been like obsessed with everything Japan for so long that it was like it's just everything I watched in anime or like YouTube or whatever it may be. It's just I'm definitely consistently surprised by everything I'm seeing, and I'm just in awe. This entire day, I feel like I've had my mouth open wherever I go. But yeah, like totally blown away. But you know, it's also at the same time, you know, up to my expectations for sure. And those were lofty expectations.
Were you worried at all? Because I always remember like Matt went to Japan before me, and a big part of our friendship was me just constantly like picking his brain. This is in Korea. Like, tell me about Shibuya. Like, what's it like? Like, or the trains, you know. And he'd always tell me. And I knew if I just went straight from the States to Japan, it would have blew me away. I wouldn't be worried. I wouldn't feel like this is gonna let me down. But because I lived in Korea first, and Korea's a very similar place to Japan. They have big differences for sure. I was really worried that like kind of Korea was gonna steal the thunder, and I was gonna come here and be like, oh yeah, it's kind of like just a more, you know, cleaner and whatever like version of Korea. I was really nervous about that because those lost without moments you were talking about, that kind of being motivated, and Japan was this super special place to me, and I was kind of scared on my first visit that like in some way it was going to be a bit of a letdown. And what if it was this thing I'd gotten me through so much of my life? What if it wasn't what I thought it was? Is there any of that in you at all? Or are you just pretty confident that it's gonna be awesome?
Yeah, I mean, I've just been so ready for it that like no matter what, I just take things in stride, and I try not, like, I had expectations, but I also try to go into things with as open of a mind as I can. And I feel like going here and having so much vested interest, and there's so much in here that I value and love, and I think no matter what experience I was going to have, it was going to be a positive one. And you know, I'm just, it's like my first day has blown me away. I'm just excited to see what the others are gonna look like.
And for me, like if you're gonna, with somebody that you love, like you're sharing your favorite place in the world, and this for me is my favorite place in the world. So to be able to share that with my son is just like beyond, you know, what I could have hoped for.
Yeah. What are some things you guys are hoping to do on the trip, or some like kind of bucket list things that, I mean, obviously Josh and Mike have been here and they've done some things, but you must have more things that you're hoping to do. So what are some things that you guys like super psyched for, some highlights you're looking forward to of the trip?
For me, since as they pointed out, I was a culinary student for about 3 years. So I know I've been to Kapabashi Street in Tokyo, but I've heard that Osaka does have a very, very amazing culinary street where a lot of the restaurant stuff can be gotten, and you can go through there. That's one of the big highlights that I want to do this here in Osaka, at least. Meet his friend in Hiroshima, go do the Peace Museum, try at least, and then go back into Tokyo. And I think on my one day that I get to go by myself somewhere, I'm trying to go up to either Orai or Minobu.
Where are those? I don't know.
Orai is along the coast, about an hour and a half by train outside of Tokyo, along the coast, just south of Sendai. I think, just south of Sendai. But Orai, or Minobu, is out by Fuji. Go see the mountain.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
So it's just like a good viewpoint of Fuji.
Yes.
That's why you want to go there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are they known for anything else? Because I know a lot of times when you do research, you find out, oh yeah, they're the best at making sandals.
Or green tea or something.
Rugs.
Yeah. There you go.
Jeans.
So for us specifically, myself and Mike, Minobu is special because of the anime Yuru Campu, or Laid Back Camp.
Yeah.
And the artist and the mangaka has really depicted that area quite well, to the point where their lives, or the story of their lives in that manga, most of it is just shown, so you can actually see most of it. And places that's in there, you just go, I want to go there. That looks amazing. And with Orai, it's another anime that I fell in love with, or at least enjoyed, because even though it's set in the future, a lot of it's still the same. It hasn't changed. And that would be Girls in Concert. So just walking around in some of these places would be amazing just to see, in my opinion, at least for this trip.
And I think Sam has a similar plan as well, right?
Yeah, one of the other big things that helped get me into Japan, I mean, I've like I've said, I've always been into it, but the thing that really pushed me over the edge was my dad bringing home Persona 5 instead of
that was a gift?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
We knew nothing about it. When he was like, oh, that looks cool. Yeah. And I started playing it, and that was one of the things. I've had periods where I've been in funks for years. And that paired with an album, that game got me out of the funk, and playing that game and has been such a big part of my life. I've played it numerous times whenever like I need to. I've listened to the soundtrack all the time. Like, it's just so important to me, and being in Tokyo, where so much of that is based off of, is gonna be so cool to see, and it's just gonna be like my soul is, connecting to, it'll be so very similar answer, but
it's on the Shibuya Crossing. You'll get to see that.
Oh yeah, Shibuya.
That's always impressive. And Koenji, right? Is that where it takes place?
Or Sanjinjaya. So Sanjinjaya is a real sleepy kind of neighborhood, but it's become a bit trendy. It has a real old school feel.
Yeah.
Shitahama is what it's called. It's like an underground, quite literally underground area, not underground in terms of like deep. I'm so glad you're going there, because it's one of a lot of people's favorite neighborhoods, even before Persona. Yeah. It's kind of Mike was saying sometimes Tokyo can be a bit much with all the people, and Sanjinjaya is where a lot of people go to kind of get away from that and just get a feel, kind of like the neighborhood we're taking you out today, where Umkeriko is. It kind of has a similar feel to that, a little like older and
there's some
local.
hip stuff coming in, but it's like underground.
That's right.
The people in the neighborhood know about it.
So that's a super cool spot. Glad you guys are going there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
How about you, Mike? What's besides like people and stuff, and I know your son's gonna be a big thing, but is there anything like Japan related that you haven't quite done, or you've just been missing so much that you're dying to do?
Like, I guess like the biggest part for me was just being back. Like I missed it so much for that time of being here. It's like, it's almost one of those things where it's like just being here again is just like already recharging my batteries. And it's like, I was telling you guys, and I said, it's important to live in the moment, and I feel we're gonna do that on this trip, and we're doing it right now. But like, for me, like, getting here now made it real that we can come back again. Because like for so long, like we couldn't come, and it like that, like, Sam talks about times like, you struggle and stuff like that, and it like, a struggle, like when you like can't go where you want to go and do what you'd like to do and be where you'd like to be, and that's that is a privilege to be able to go to do that. I said, but like not having that, like something that's so part of your life kind of like taken away and not having it, like now we're already like talking about like what we want to do next year. And for me, my biggest thing for like is enjoying it with my friend and my son this time, and then meeting up with some people, but then next time it's like go and see some places that we haven't been, and like where that is doesn't matter, but just like continue that exploration that you for what you haven't been through so far.
Do you have any ideas of like places you want to go that you've never been to that are on like a starting point?
Like Sapporo is one of them.
Yeah. That's was gonna be.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say like COVID gave me the opportunity to do some things I wouldn't normally do, and I fell in love with certain places in Japan that weren't making me like top of my list, in the first couple of years. And Sapporo is a place that I could live for sure. Yeah.
And then the other part is like, I don't know that it's going to be our next time we come, but one of the things that's moved up on my list is I would like to like attempt like climbing Fuji and being able to do that once. I don't like I live by I haven't done it yet, but I already live by that adage, like, you know, you don't do it twice, you know. Like
What do you know about climbing Fuji?
beyond like some like horrible experiences that people have had, like you know, that you need to come prepared. Like it's one of those things, like even my hiking, like, you know, come with correct, like, you know, socks, correct outfits, correct gear, like, you know, do it all. And I do know some people that do like some group led hikes. And if I'm going to do it, it's going to be with like a group of people, and it's going to be like making sure that I get the place to sleep at night. It's going to, you know, like, you know, doing it the right way for you have, because like I've seen so many people that have come off the, you know, sunburned on one side of their body, you know what I mean? Like with destroyed shoes and like, you know, like just, you know, horrible experiences. And I'm like, I'm not, you know, you hope the weather's nice, you hope your things that are there, but like that's going to be one thing like that I would like to be able to go like back home or just have that moment, you know, like you live in that moment of time, but like to be able to do something like that, like would be huge. You know?
There's something mystical about that place because I've not done it. I'm into hiking and I go camping. Last night I met a British band. I was going to see them on a live show, and they said, yeah, right before we played this show, we just came in from Mount Fuji. We climbed Mount Fuji. And I've talked to 20, 30 people that have done it, and everyone just has a horrific experience. And sure enough, there, you know, one more on the list of like, one guy couldn't make it halfway up. You know, he just died of cold. Not died, but he was so miserable he had to go back down. The other two guys made it to the top, but they wanted to wait to see the sunset for 4 hours, and they were just huddling behind a rock, cuddling each other to stay warm because they weren't properly prepared. And then they saw the sunset, and they're like, "This is so dumb. Like,
just the sunset.
Let's just go. Like, it was not worth anything." And
I mean, you saw our sunset.
It was magic.
Nice.
It's magic.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of our things. Like,
Who needs Fuji?
Well, I still want to do it. It's like an abuse victim or something. Like I know it's gonna be horrible. I know it's gonna be bad, but
and it's like you know, but like I hope with like that preparation, and even if you prepare, you like you have stuff that can go crazy and go happen, and it's like, you know, but it's like, again, like to have that experience to look back upon, to say that you did it, like how many people that, you know, haven't, you know, like that's a huge thing, you know, in and of itself, and that would be just amazing.
I mean, like Josh was saying, like it's such a mystical kind of thing to see just from the Shinkansen. Like it's impressive.
in my opinion, Fuji's, I mean, I guess I have no validity because I've not climbed it, but I'm gonna feel that it's better to see from the bottom. Because I've gone camping, you know, around there.
Yeah.
It is just so cool to just see peeking out, you know, in the morning when you walk out there. And I drove up almost the highest up you could go by car. That's cool too. So I imagine, you know, the real allure of Fuji is like living around it, being around it in your background, rather than being on top of it per se. But yeah, it does have that pull, doesn't it?
Yeah, I stayed one day in Shizuoka just to see it from where I was.
To eat pancakes.
Yeah, and I've almost fully lived my dream. You know,
the convenience store, wasn't it? Like
I ended up having like the Japanese pancake with the red bean inside. I could have done without the red bean.
It comes back to the red bean.
But I like it now. I've grown to like it, but it wasn't quite the pancake I wanted. But yeah, I mean,
still time, you know.
I'll get out there. I'll do it for sure. I'll find a place that serves pancakes.
Something I would urge, I think from what I've learned from you guys, is like, I think Josh and Mike sound like kind of super researchers, right? You're doing the street walking, watching all that stuff. I would tell you at some point, I'm sure it's happened naturally already, but I'm the same way as you guys. And I think the thing for me, probably more than just Japan, but you know, I do love Japan too and still travel here, is like the places where I didn't do any research on, I was lucky enough to just have a friend say, hey, let's go here. And then I even learned, like, I don't need to rely on a friend. I'm just going to go on the train and go to this random station. That's something Matt kind of taught me when we lived in Korea, was just get on a bus, go out and get lost, because it's such a safe place. Nothing's that crazy expensive. Like, you're going to be okay, you know? It's a rare you can do that. There's a lot of places in the world we can't do that. You just go out and get lost and find something that you've not watched a walking tour on YouTube on. You don't know everything about it already. Those are the kind of most memorable, coolest moments, you know?
Yeah,
So to evolve on that.
Yeah.
When I came here on my first trip, Rob, the one friend that we came with.
The sadistic one or no?
No, not the sadistic. The other guy.
Okay.
We stayed here in Osaka, just north of the government building on whatever river that is.
Oh yeah.
So every night he would get out and just go get lost, walk around. Well, Ali is a notoriously loud and obnoxious snorer.
Yeah.
So after the first night of realizing how bad it is with him sleeping in the same room, I decided to follow Rob one night. So we ended up walking about 5 to 8 kilometers that night. Just got lost walking around, and that was actually the most peaceful and happiest part of that trip was getting lost.
Yeah.
Every single night.
Yeah.
I recommend it. Yeah.
The biggest thing, like when we were planning the trip, like dad would always ask, like my dad would always ask me like, what do you want to do? Like, you know, do you have any things you want to hit? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? But like in the past, when I've gone on trips, my favorite things by far is that exactly what we're talking about. Like the things I did when I was like 10 at night and I just wanted to walk to Walgreens. I ended up walking to a park, and like just like my favorite part of my New York trip I did a couple of years ago is exactly like just getting lost and walking through and just doing stuff that's not planned. That's my favorite thing in the world.
When you're in a group, people aren't going to approach you really, you know, because you got friends and so they don't want to bother you. I think like when you just go out alone for a little bit, you know?
They're bats. No rabies in Japan though, so don't worry.
Don't worry.
That's cool.
Yeah, we got little friends here. Yeah, so just being alone and not having headphones in and not being on your phone is gonna make you like more approachable, and you're gonna be able to interact with people more.
Yeah.
There's gonna be moments where you kind of freak out because you don't know what to say, you don't know what the correct procedure is. But yeah, those are exciting. Those are like the cool moments, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd urge you to just go leave your family for a little bit, just go walk around and get lost.
Especially when we're in Tokyo, I'm not going to be afraid to go out and do my own thing.
Yeah, because everyone will help you. I mean, if you get lost and you need something, you know, everyone's nice. So.
Exactly, and like I want to take a screenshot when I have good enough Wi-Fi of maps and stuff like that. Just if I'm really lost, but yeah, like I definitely want to do my own thing and not have to worry about following anybody. And wherever I end up, I end up.
That's like the nice thing, like with technology, man. Like I still, it's like a good luck charm, but I still packed my paper map for Tokyo. That I brought like in 2004, so it still has like
incredible.
that, you know. But it's like become almost like a good luck charm, and I feel like if the zombie apocalypse does happen when I'm on vacation, that I have that backup. Like I'm gonna be like, look at me now, man. I can know where
You know, earthquakes are a thing here. You know, if that happens, that map's gonna come in handy.
Tokyo, and as long as I'm in Kyoto and Tokyo, I'm covered with my paper maps. Yeah.
There you go.
I don't even know where to buy a paper map in Japan.
Well, I remember I even had my GPS, you know, on my phone when I was coming from Korea, and I still brought my Lonely Planet with me. Maybe a similar reason, you know. Felt like a good luck charm, and I also had like all these tags, you know, for the cool things that I got to see in the cool neighborhoods. But these days, you know, it's just Google Maps and a bunch of stars.
So yeah, Google Maps is absolutely amazing, and I can't live without it. But like we were saying, you know, at the same time, it does steal. Being able to read the reviews and see the photos, it does steal a bit of the excitement. And I imagine, you know, you'll go home and the best parts of this trip will be something you didn't plan to do or you didn't see. And
I've done some walking in the last couple of days, just in neighborhoods I've never been to. And I'll tell you, I'll do some research beforehand. I'll say, oh, where's some places to eat? Every time I go, I see things that I'm like, oh, that wasn't on Google. That didn't show up when I did it. And so you always find something new if you just get out and get to the place and look around, you know?
That was something you used to tell me when we lived in Korea about Japan. Like, sometimes in Korea, it didn't always pay off to go explore places because, like, there wouldn't be good stuff and you had to kind of research and make sure something was going to be cool enough to spend your time going there. You're always like, man, you know, if we're in Japan, we just go down any alleyway. And it was maybe a little bit hyperbolic, but it was definitely true that, yeah, there's nothing here. We had one off. Went to the Tazukayama, was that what it's called? The theater district. We did an episode on it.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, I had a good time and everything like that.
Sure.
It was kind of like, we worked hard to find something and we didn't really find anything that cool there.
I've been back.
Gone back.
Yeah, and I went to the Osama Tezuka Museum, and the guy that did the Astro Boy, created Astro Boy, he has a museum there. And it was awesome. And they had like, Street Fighter, artwork from Street Fighter, and right now they have this stuff going on. And then also I ate there and I got some good food. I got some good ami rice, like there's always like secrets. Anywhere you
the
go.
Wrong day and stuff is closed or whatever.
Or it was hot and I'm sure we were trying to find a quiet place to podcast. Good luck with that.
Holding us back.
Yeah.
There's one that we're getting some behind the scenes, for Japan 2.0, where we like go search some parks to record at, and had a little extra adventure because of it. But like Sam's out there right now, like taking a picture of the skyline and stuff like that, and I'm like, it's great.
It was worth the 20-minute trek, right?
It really was. It really was. And then like, but I'll second that. Like, some of the best experiences I had and the people that I've, made because, friends because of that was just because, again, that same thing of just like walking and just finding something and going in and not being afraid to just go in and, hope for something good. And I said everything that's there, I'm like, well, yeah, whatever we do, it's like the food's better, like, like your experiences are better, your shopping experiences are better. It's just, it's better.
Yeah.
Really, like,
Yeah.
Totally agree.
How long are we?
We are at a hour 14, my friend.
Oh my
that's pretty
goodness.
good. Time flies.
Yes, it does.
That's a solid episode of Lost Without.
Yeah, and Japan 2.0, we are on, the fun part is we got that hour, we're on an hour 23 on this one, so we got bonus footage,
That's right.
bonus audio.
Oh, that will never be released.
I think I missed that. Whatever dark secret.
The blackmail episode comes out. You guys will hear it.
Well, we can't wait to like hear whatever. I'm sure you guys are gonna do a lot of content on this trip, right?
Yes. And that's
oh,
gonna
man.
be something where it's like just be able to have the audio of as we're going along, even though it's like not a video, but just having the audio of us doing stuff is gonna be like its own own thing. So.
Yeah, can't wait to hear that stuff. I mean, this just seeing that like this is your first day out and it feels like you guys have already done a lot. I mean, we've been there for a lot of it.
So much.
Yeah.
You live here, yeah. But I think I know how much you wanted to be here, and I know last year, your whole podcast was kind of about that. And I remember Matt and I were just like off, just talking like, there's no way he's gonna like. We knew what the situation was like here, We're like, does he know? Is he like putting on some hope? Like, I don't have the heart to break it to the guy because it sounded like you needed it so much, And I'm so happy that it,
finally came.
You're here, yeah.
Yeah. Like I said, just you guys coming out today and us, we had the, like getting together and stuff has just been wonderful. And I know, just as far as memories go, I'm like, this is definitely, part of that for us. So thank you both.
Definitely.
Matt, David, thank you.
Hey, it's so good to have you out, man. I'm so happy for you.
Hopefully.
You have no idea.
Yeah, we know exactly what it's like, and we hope it's the first of many meetups that we get to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%, my friend.
Come back to
Hopefully
Kansai.
next year, right?
I gotta save and lose some weight for those jeans we were looking at earlier.
Oh yeah,
Samurai.
We'll all do some samurai. Go to Samurai Jeans, buy some jeans.
Samurai jeans. Samurai.
They'll make us the models.
Yeah, new sponsor of Japan 2.0 and Lost Without Japan.
I would die happy if that ever happened.
Pay us some jeans.
That's like 2 weeks of me working.
Well, you have to come out in the winter next time when we can be wearing the jeans. Matt's gonna get a pair. He's gonna join the club.
I told them I'm saving up. I gotta work. I gotta go back to work. Summer vacation needs to end so I can get my jeans.
So, last thing, I said, we're gonna look to put up the audio on. That works, but like on both Japan 2.0 and for Lost Without Japan. So like,
I don't know how much crossover we have in our listenership, but after this, it's gonna go
what's gonna happen?
gangbusters.
It's gangbusters. That's,
I hope so. Yeah. If you haven't listened to Lost Without Japan, it's such a positive, one of the most positive podcasts about Japan I've ever listened to. Like,
Mike's love is very infectious. And
yes.
You can just feel it across the mic,
And the guests that he has on are always like
Yeah, you
so
find-
positive about Japan. Like
you
I
find
can't
people I've
I can't
never heard of,
believe you
yeah.
find so many, because there I won't mention any names, but there are definitely Japan podcasts out there that are not as positive as what you do, and I really think that people getting that positive view that doesn't have that jaded feeling of, you know, people that have lived here, you know, for way too long, or just don't appreciate some of the small things that we
We're
appreciate.
not always covering, you know, the most obvious things too.
Yeah.
You know, that was our kind of mantra, and we've changed. But I think you actually do a lot of that from like bike tours in Osaka or whatever. Like you're definitely off the beaten path, and you're not even here.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible feat. You know.
You had that
You're
Tokyo
able-
tour guide on
Yep.
not that long ago, and then she had like all these recommendations. I was like, oh, that's some deep cut stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is almost like Japan 2.0. It's showing like those places that are kind of under the radar for a lot of people, and we want people to know about this stuff.
Yeah, and like I said though, like I reached out to you guys when I looked to start the podcast, and then like you guys were like one of the big like inspirations for it, and then like you guys doing like the 2.0 theme of like, you know, getting off the beaten path and not just doing the, you know, here I am at Starbucks, or here I am at, you know, like McDonald's for this, like, you know, latest, you know, spicy chicken, you know, nugget like release, you know, like, but like, you know, like just like hitting some things that are, if you've been to Japan more than once, or you just want to make like your trip to Japan be more than just hitting the tourist spots in Tokyo and Osaka and Kyoto, you could listen to Japan 2.0, and you're going to get some places like today that we're experiencing with them now that like you wouldn't get necessarily otherwise. And I say there's a lot of cross-pollination and you know, friendship that's, you know, in addition today, that's come from it all. So it's great.
I hope there's many more, you know. Let's do this again, man.
Yeah.
Let's do this again.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
Thank you
Have a
guys.
good time.
Thank you. Yeah.
Great having you guys.
Sign
See you
off.
later.
Bye.
Peace.